Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to talk a little hockey. And, of course, Cole's appearance on the show is always brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Joining us now, he covers the Utah Hockey Club for KSLSports.com and joins us on Fridays. He is Cole Bagley. What's going on, Cole? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys as well.
Cole, one of the things I always ask you to do is educate me about hockey. And so last night we see Lawson Krause score 2 goals. He hadn't scored since November 29th. Are these types of droughts, especially for guys that are on the third line, though I think that's probably lower than where we expected Lawson to start the year, is that common, or is this just like a weirdly down year? Because you know what? It seems like a lot of those guys in the third and even some of the fourth line aren't scoring at a rate that seems acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, the third line is having kind of a weird off year. I think Bukestad had like 52 points last season. Michelli had around 50 as well, and Krause had, I think, 43. He was a 20 and 20 type guy. So, I've run the numbers on their production this year, and most of those 3 are on pace to finish, about 40 to 50% plus, and so just kind of a weird season for him. I think especially for a guy like Krause that has been not necessarily a high production type guy, but a pretty consistent production guy for this team. He wears the associate captain A on his sweater. He's got a lot of respect in that room, and so yeah, it's been a strange year, but it was good to see him get not just 1 but 2 goals. I think that's a big confidence boost for him. I mean, for the most part, it just kind of feels like they've had really bad puck luck, and while they have been giving good efforts, I just haven't seen it go in. So last night was big. I think the third line, obviously Michelli was out with illness, and O'Brien subbed in for him, and I think that was a big difference. O'Brien came with a lot of energy. He was hitting the forecheck hard. He was finishing his checks. He was aggressive around the net. Krause even said that his first goal would not have been possible without the play of Liam O'Brien. So I think that was, a good outing for those 3 guys, and hopefully they can keep it moving.
Does that mean we're going to see the spicy tuna a little more?
That's a good question. I think I put this in my game recap last night that based on the last 2 performances, he should. I think the third line has been lacking a lot of energy. I think they've been down on themselves, and for Liam O'Brien to come in for just 2 games and all of a sudden that line produces 2 goals, I think the coaches should, really consider giving him more opportunities. I mean, it's a small sample size. It's not going to happen all the time, but, based on the fact that, as soon as he entered the lineup, suddenly that line's producing, I think it says a lot about, the impact that he could potentially have. So we'll see, but I think things are definitely looking better than they were for Liam O'Brien, just based on, the effort that he's given the last 2 games.
So as a novice, again, I'm continuing to learn on the fly about this team, and came in, it was like, okay, well, Keller had the hot start and looked like the best player on the team. And then I'm watching Sergachev, I'm thinking, man, he just makes a lot of plays and he's super effective on the defensive end. He's great. And then Gunther comes out and plays well, and you're saying, okay, now maybe he's becoming the guy. And then you realize, like, Cooley is just, he gets a point every game. He's involved in huge plays. He makes big plays that don't necessarily show up on the box score like he did last night in the fourth or in the third period. He's a good defender randomly at his size. Like, what are you seeing from Logan Cooley, I guess, is my question that I'm asking. And where is he right now on the team as far as his play?
I think he's the best all-around player on the Utah Hockey Club, just with his offensive talent. He's very, very gifted, both in his puck handling skills, his vision, his creativity. He can score too. And, defensively, he gets in on the penalty kill. He's, got a very active stick. Last night when Calgary was pushing to try to tie the game late, he had a critical defensive play in Utah's zone where he lifted the stick of the Calgary player and cleared, was able to clear the zone, and Utah was able to get a change. Those are kind of things that might be overlooked, but in the grand scheme of things, those are big plays. So Logan Cooley is a phenomenal player. He's taken a huge leap this season. I think he's on pace to finish about 50% more points than he had a season ago. Gunther as well. Both those guys are just kind of really beginning to emerge. I think in terms of steps forward they've taken, I feel like in just one season they may have taken 2 or 3 years in terms of growth in just one year. So he's phenomenal. He might end up being the best all-around player for the Utah Hockey Club moving forward. And I think he's second or third in points right now. Whereas the season, he's almost reached, last year's point totals, through not even half the season thus far. So he's doing incredible things. He's a phenomenal player. And, I think he's going to hopefully be in Utah for a long time. He'll be up for an extension, and I would anticipate seeing something similar to what the Utah Hockey Club did with Gunther this last year.
What do you credit for that development? I hear you say something like a couple of years, 3 years worth of development in such a short period of time. What do you credit that? Are coaches taking a victory lap? Is it all him? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. I think Coach Bear is very good with young players. He spent a lot of time in the juniors. He spent a lot of time with, Canada's World Junior team. And so I think there's a lot of credit to, the coaching that is going on, but as well, I think it's just the competitiveness that Logan Cooley has. He's arguably one of the most competitive guys on the team. I think pairing him with Dylan Gunther has been huge. Last season he struggled a bit through the first half of the year, and they called up Dylan Gunther, put him on the same line, and that kind of unlocked the two of them. And, as you guys are noticing, when they're putting points on the board, when they're scoring, they're getting assists, it's usually to one another. So, there's a lot of things that go into it, but it's very promising. When you get a player like that can take such leaps and bounds in a short amount of time, it's when you got a special guy. I've said it multiple times. I think that both Gunther and Cooley have superstar potential in them, and it'll be interesting to see how they continue to develop over the next couple of seasons.
So along those lines, do they have the type of top-end potential you need to, I don't want to say win a Stanley Cup because it takes a lot to do that, but to take the team to the next level and then put themselves in that conversation where they are competing in the conference?
Absolutely. Based off what I've seen, I think that they're exactly the type of guys, that you can rally behind. They're the guys that can be your franchise players, and that can help, spearhead, a opportunity to go deep into the playoffs. Obviously winning the Stanley Cup is one of the toughest things to do. They call it the hardest trophy to win in all of sports. But yeah, I think they have that potential, and they complement each other so well. Cooley is more of that all-around player, that creator. He's looking for his teammates, but he can also put himself in dangerous, situations. And then Gunther is an elite sniper. I don't think he's quite the same player as an Alexander Ovechkin, but I see a lot of similarities in him in the way that he's able to score goals, and that's what he does best. But at the same time, he's a pretty decent all-around player too. He's up there. I think he's top 3 or 4 in terms of assists on the Utah Hockey Club. I think he's second in points. He was first for a while, and then he's also, a decent defender as well. So, yeah, for sure. I think, you have to consider how young these guys are, right? Like Logan Cooley's 20 years old, Dylan Gunther is 21, and they're already, on pace to put up about 70 points. Give them 3-4 seasons, you might have 2 guys that are, knocking on the door of triple digits. When you've got 2 players of that stature, you're going to go deep in the playoffs.
Cole, thank you. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Great stuff, Cole. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys.